Sourdough starter from scratch, day 5. We're gonna do the exact same thing as we've done for days 1 through 4. Dump out half, give it a cup of flour, a little bit less water, thick pancake batter consistency. So if all you wanna know is that, good to go, do it. I'm gonna talk for a little bit. This has grown, as you can see. It still remains the same, that no matter what yours is doing, as long as there's not mold, it's okay. If yours hasn't grown at all, as long as you're doing what I'm telling you, it will. The pace at which we've been feeding it over the last 5 days has been about every 24 hours-ish. For days 6 and 7, we're gonna be feeding it 2 times a day. So if you are already doing your 1 time a day feeding in the morning or the night, you're good to go. You don't need to shift your timing at all. If you're like me and you've been feeding it at a random time in the day, like between 12 and 2 p.m., you wanna shift it to earlier in the day. You want to get it closer to the morning. So for example, it's 10 a.m. right now. I'm going to feed it. That's a few hours early. Tomorrow, starting day 6, I'll feed it even a few hours before that so that it is right at the beginning of my day. That way I can feed it again before bed and about 12 hours will have passed, because the goals for day 6 and 7 will be to feed it 2 times roughly every 12 hours. Because I haven't waited the full 24 hours like usual, that's why this hasn't fallen down yet again. That's okay. We don't have to wait for it to fall back down to feed it again. Every single feeding will always include dumping out half, giving it flour, giving it water, stirring it, and leaving it to sit. Stir it in. It smells disgusting. It doesn't smell like the, I can feel sourdough forming. It's like, God. I'll go dump out half. If yours has grown at all and formed bubbles and all that, you'll notice that the consistency really gets thin. Put a little bit less water each feeding, because your goal is still always going to be a thick pancake batter consistency. Cup of flour, and because I saw that was pretty freaking thin, I'm going to add even less water than normal. I've got it to about there. If it ends up being too thick, I should have added more water. I can just add more water. If it's too thin and I need it thicker, I can just add a little more flour. And just in case anyone has forgotten along the way, if you're still doing this in a mason jar with a paper towel and a scrunchie or something like that to cover it up, you were doing it the exact same. My lid is not airtight. It's just sitting there. It's just protecting it. It's doing the same thing that your paper towel is doing. You're done with day 5. I'll be back tomorrow morning for day 6, and I'm going to see you guys 2 times tomorrow. Now for a little bit more info for those that find it helpful. The end goal, how we will know that we have achieved a successful sourdough starter that is ready to make you as many loaves as you want for the rest of your life. This will at least double in size after feeding it, and it will pass the float test. So if you've had a false rise already and you're like, mine doubled in size on day 2, 3, 4, in fact, it was overflowing. That's called a false start. Ignore it. It ain't the real thing. It wouldn't have passed the float test. We're not ready for a float test, so I'm not going to give you that information yet. You're welcome to Google it if you're just so excited about the float test. An example of a successful, active, ready-to-go starter. This is my starter that I started myself a couple years ago that I had been baking with. Just fed her an hour ago. She's trying to show off for you guys. She has done more than doubled in size, and she's going to continue to go over the edge. And I couldn't be more proud of her. Her name is Dixie. See you guys tomorrow morning for day 6.